A painfully unfunny recap of the Danganronpa games. Here we go! Part 3. Ketamine Hurricane. Well, here we are. The most controversial game in the series, aside from that one with the pedophile. It opens up with a woman named Kaede, our female protagonist that's somehow aware of her role. She steps out of the locker and meets another loser who got stuffed in one named Suichi. The only thing they remember is being kidnapped, so they try to leave, only to be faced with a giant mech.
That escalated quickly.
They run away and meet the other students, and once again, they also lost their memories. What is with these games and dementia? These mechs are referred to as exosols, and piloting them are these munchkins called the Monocubs, who explain the reason nobody remembers shit is because of something called the ultimate hunt. They undergo some sort of Sailor Moon transformation, and then they all get flashbanged. We then cut back to the beginning as if nothing happened, and the Monocubs give us a proper welcome. This time, the Ultimates and their talents were scouted by the government, so no more Hope's Peak Academy. Speaking of talents, Kaede is the ultimate Kaede is the ultimate pianist, which is a pretty unique talent. Unlike Suichi, he's another detective like Kyoko, but not as good as Kyoko because he lacks the tits and he has crippling anxiety. Our two lovebirds are given free iPads along with the rest of the cast, which includes Johnny 5, Victoria Housekeeping, the background character, Comic-Con, Georgia the Jungle, Taekwon Ho, Grape Fanta, Wednesday Addams, Stay Away From Me, Little Witch Academia, Hasbulla, Mommy, Jim Jam the Spaceman, and...
That's cause Jesus Christ is my
Nationwide Accountant! They see the front doors unlocked, but outside they find out they're also inside a big cage. After heading to the gym again to find out about the killing game, Monokuma finally shows up. Better late than never. But our boy's a little different this time around. I mean, he's grown a god complex, his design got the Shrek 5 treatment, and he's the biological father of all 5 Monocubs. Those things are his kids? Did he have an orgy with the fucking Power Rangers or something? So the rules are explained as always, but this is the 3rd game in the trilogy, so by now you should know how this works. As usual, nobody wants to participate, but they don't have a choice in the matter because it's gonna keep going until there's only 2 left. Little do the family of bears know, Kaede is the uncredited founder of Stop Killing Games. We get a frustrating minigame of them trying to escape, but thankfully you're supposed to lose. Even if you win, the plot progresses anyway, so well done spending the last 3 hours constantly loading that save point for nothing. The next day, Monokuma drops by and he presents our motive known as the First Blood perk, where the killer gets to leave with no trial. Kaito gets pissed off and tries to attack, but the Monocubs burst through the wall like the Kool-Aid Man and crush their own daddy. Everybody leaves in confusion, and then Suichi shows Kaede a hidden door in the library, which he sets a trap on to see if anybody comes by. Monokuma gets resurrected one day later because he's the damn mascot, and for some reason he's going through a yokai watch phase now. He gets so salty about his offspring squishing him that he adds a time limit to the motive. If nobody dies in 2 days, everybody dies. Rantaro's all like, you guys heard of the ultimate hunt? And Kaede's all like, the fuck is an ultimate hunt? Suichi goes back to the door and he finds out someone fell for his trap, so one of them is definitely the Mastermind. Hooray, no more Junko! They get the idea to catch the Mastermind by using a motion-activated camera, so they beg Miyu to build one. Fast forward until there's only an hour left to live, and everybody meets up to discuss how to tackle Monokuma. The camera sensors go off, they head back to the door, and they find Rantaro dead on the floor. This early? But I haven't even got emotionally attached to him yet. Monokuma and his kids show up, and he's all like, whoever did it, raise your hand. Nobody raises their hand, so he goes, fine, we'll do a trial anyway. The investigation begins, Tsumugi becomes pinker than Patrick Star, Monokuma overdoses on steroids, and they head down the elevator. Same old banter, same old minigames, truths, lies, Monosuke's invalid opinions, and absolute peak gameplay. As the cameras were being set up, the killer found a shot put ball, and for some reason they're not grey anymore. Then they screwed with the camera so the flash would distract Rantaro, the ball rolled down, and it bonked him on the head, killing him instantly. And it was done by the main character! So much for a female protagonist. She gets hung, and her lifeless body plays us a lovely song before she gets impaled by a wall of spikes. Also, Monodam shoves Monokid in there because there's only so much bullying the quiet kid can take before he snaps. After the punishment, Monokuma dodges every question as always, but he does hint that Rantaro is on the right track. Suichi becomes super depressed, Kaito punches the sadness away, and he ditches the hat to show he's done being a pussy. The next morning, Gonta discovers a rock that says Horse A, and the Monocubs give everyone these random items. Using them, they discover some research labs and for some reason a flashlight. Oh, sorry, a flashback light. Monokuma explains that this thing will bring memories back, so Suichi uses it on himself and he immediately remembers running from an angry mob for his inappropriate tweets back in 2013. But in reality, it was just some Ultimate Hunt stuff. Everybody has the same memory, but no one knows the exact reason. Monokuma then tells them to keep playing the killing game in order to unlock more memories, so they try to cool their jets by relaxing by the pool and going gambling. There's also a key to the Love Hotel you can win, where you fulfill a random Ultimate's fantasy. I got this guy. He tied me up. Anyway, when they get back, everybody finds their own cub pad, which has a motive video for somebody else. Swapping them to the right people sounds like a good idea, but now that Kaede is Kaie dead, nobody's optimistic or trustworthy anymore. To lift their spirits, Himiko's all like,
I'm gonna do a magic show, yeah?
but that little shit Kokichi has other plans. He tricks Gonta to round everybody up, we get a good shot of Miyu's dump truck, and the gang find out they're inside an insect meet and greet, which goes exactly how you would expect it to. Kokichi announces he's gonna collect all the cub pads, but Kibo and Gonta get in the way. Please don't piss off Gonta. He knows about the ant you squished last week, and when he finds you, there will be no mercy. Moving on to the magic show, Himiko has butterflies in her stomach because she forgot she's not Harry Houdini. It's an underwater escape trick with live piranhas that will eat her alive if she doesn't do it in time. The crowd is on the edge of their seat panicking, apart from Angie because she's never not happy. The piranhas drop, the curtains pulled back, and they find a handcuffed Ryoma who gets turned into fish food. Himiko comes back not knowing what just happened, and Monokuma announces a body has been discovered. Maki fucks off elsewhere, and Suichi finds out there's less information to investigate this time. But he does learn that Ryoma was not just the ultimate tennis pro, he was also the ultimate prisoner, as his tennis career was cut short for killing someone. What do you mean? He's only 3'5". Just punt him. It worked for Austin Powers. During the trial, Himiko still refuses to reveal the magic trick. Everybody calls Kaito an idiot. Kokichi pulls out the roast of the century, and Miyu starts moaning like Tarzan. Degradation. You'll never lose another argument again. Anyway, back to business. Ryoma got knocked out by the culprit and they drowned him in his own lab. They used a rope to navigate at night, dumped his body into the tank, and they used a lid as a partition to separate the piranhas. The magic trick itself took care of the rest, and we learned Kirumi was behind the whole thing. So that's 2 women murderers in a row. I bet Tenko feels really stupid right now.
Only degenerate males would commit such an act of violence.
After all is said and done, they interrogate Kirumi and she admits that she got her own motive video from the start. Monokuma reveals that she used to be the Prime Minister of Japan while also referencing Donald Trump. There was a crisis going on, but Monokuma was gatekeeping what it was until she escaped. She tells us that she picked Ryoma for an assisted suicide because he was an easy target, and he even admitted himself that he had no reason to live anyway. And neither did the rest of the world according to his motive video. Dick move, Paddington. Despite this backstory, Kokichi's all like, that sounds like a nice big cup of guilt tripping, and then Kirumi runs away, right into her execution. Doing whatever it takes to survive, she climbs a rope of thorns just in case there's a chance that she can still escape. And she gets some cuts from a ton of saw blades before eventually reaching the top. But before she can stretch out to freedom, Kirumi finds out she's just been bamboozled and the rope snaps, falling to her death. Monodam claims another victim as he kicks Monosuke, making him lose his glasses before he gets crushed by ass. Normally that would sound like a good thing, but not in this context. Thankfully, Kokichi was the only one paying attention to the dialogue, and he mentions that Kirumi learned about her past after watching the video, like the flashback light. Outside, Gonta's all like, Gonta think Kokichi big liar. And Kokichi's all like, you're not wrong, but Maki's even worse. He then reveals Ryoma and Maki exchanged motive videos, and her real talent was the ultimate assassin, not the ultimate child caregiver. So Maki goes full Undertaker and chokeslams Kokichi into oblivion. They break down Maki's door to find out she really is the ultimate assassin and Kokichi wasn't lying for once. Monokuma then decides to reward them with more keys so they can explore more of the academy. One of which was Korekio's lab, and he finds a seance called the Caged Child that he can use to speak to dead people. Why not just use a Ouija board? Meanwhile, Miyu starts feeling romantical and makes sweet love to Kibo. Okay, not really. She's just doing maintenance on him. The gang finds a room that can create virtual reality, and there's also another flashback light. They meet up to use it, but Maki's all like, nah, you'll all try to murder me if you learn the truth. And Suichi's all like, fine bitch, I'll take the bullet again. He uses it on himself, and he finds all of them dead at a funeral, which everyone suddenly remembers. One day later, the Monocubs give them a fucking Necronomicon to bring back one of the 4 who died already. No one knows what to make of it, but then Gonta changes the subject all like, look, Rock have more letter now. And Angie's all like, it is a sign from Atua. She steals the Necronomicon and asks Gonta to join her new student council, which is actually just a cult where she magically converts people by giving really good hugs. Tenko's only there because she doesn't trust Angie, and she's become so obsessed with Himiko that she won't let her out of her sight. Fan service happens, thankfully with all their bits covered up, and Kaito invites Maki to join him and Suichi for late night training, but then he gets too sick to come, so they're forced to train without him. Fuel gets added to the fire as Angie abuses her power as president to dictate everyone's rights. The Monocubs give them another flashback light, but Angie breaks it because nobody's going home, and they're like, like, "No! What? Why?" Angie then decides they're bringing back Rantaro, and Kaito is physically sickened by this decision. They go to get some answers about the ritual later on, and they find out Madame Two Swords over here has sculpted some realistic wax figures. After she sends them away, she's found dead the next morning after being stabbed in the back of the neck. Korekio's all like,
Don't worry, dipshits, I have a backup plan.
and they go ahead with his seance from earlier. And then Tenko's all like, I'll be the medium.
By the way, I love you, Himiko.
But this was a really bad idea. So bad that Monokuma's all like,
She was super annoying anyway. This kill doesn't count.
and if 2 wasn't enough for you, Kokichi's dead too.
It's a lie.
God damn it! As for the trial, Himiko acknowledges Tenko's final words and vows to stop being lazy, which took her 3 chapters to do so, by the way. In other news, Miyu gets off to being called a cum dumpster and reveals she modified Kibo's camera function for her health. More specifically, to analyze her dookie. I guess you could say it was more of an analyzer.
Quit talking about your poop.
The murder was planned to happen during the seance with the floorboards loosened to form a seesaw effect. What the fuck is a seesaw effect? Fuck you, Hangman's Gambit! At the same time, Angie was looking for a candle while doing a silly walk cycle. She gets knocked out and carried back to her lab so the final blow could be delivered. Then they set up the room to look like a locked room murder and force everyone into the seance where Tenko took one for the team. A sickle gets set up above her neck and the culprit steps on a floorboard so Tenko would spring up to get stabbed. This way she got murdered in the dark and no one could witness it. We learned that Korekio is the one who did it, he breaks down and then he takes the mask off. Why is he wearing makeup? Korekio then reveals he didn't murder because he wanted to leave, he murdered because he wanted to give friends to his one true love. His sister. His own sister. Okay, I was cool with the bondage. I was cool with the seesaws. I was even cool with almost 100 women dying to meet your dead sibling. But incest? That is where I draw the line. They throw him into a cauldron, boil him alive, Monodam lights himself ablaze, and Korekio melts into a ghost. But Monokuma doesn't like happy endings, so he throws salt at him until he dies again. Himiko cries herself to sleep, Gonta carries her to bed, and Kaito starts coughing up blood.
And it's only going to get worse from here.
Once again, Gonta finds more letters on the rock, and the remaining Monokubs give them more items and a new motive. They use another flashback light now that Angie's not here to smash it, and they remember meteors and something called the Gopher Project. When the nighttime comes, Maki sits down to share her emotionally scarring backstory like she's a contestant on America's Got Talent. Later on, Miyu repairs the computer and discovers a way that everybody can escape from Monokuma's clutches. But first, they have to enter the most unholy, disgusting domain in the history of humankind. VR chat. Monokuma takes all of the credit for this, but Miyu reassures that she's removed anything that might be dangerous. Monokuma tempts them with a secret about the outside world, and they all put on their headsets. They take control of these chibi avatars and roam around a mansion before hearing a loud noise and finding Miyu's avatar frozen. Everybody logs out, only to discover our gorgeous girl genius has sadly bit the dust after getting choked out. Maybe you should have invented a safe word instead! On a more depressing note, Kibo seems to be the only one upset by this. Nobody else really cares. Monokuma even scribbles XXX on a death portrait. Kodaka, I know you designed Miyu to be hated, but you didn't need to go this far. During the trial, almost nothing funny happens apart from Monokuma going off on a tangent about how much he hates Sonic. Eventually, Kokichi's all like, alright, I'm done with your shit. I'm gonna ruin the trial now. Turns out Miyu's sanity and trust issues were spiraling out of control and she was plotting to kill Kokichi in the virtual world. And Monokuma was in on the joke the whole time. Had Miyu actually laid a hand on him, Kokichi would have been paralyzed. Everybody's all like, get to the fucking point. And Kokichi's all like,
Fine, Gonta did it.
and Gonta's all like, fuck you mean Gonta did it? After narrowing down every other possibility, we find out the culprit put their memory and consciousness cables in the wrong ports. Hence why they couldn't remember anything and their personality was altered. Kokichi analyzed Miyu's speech, spotting for any lies, and once the group had split up and they met on the roof, Miyu cornered him only to get strangled. By fucking toilet paper of all things. This transferred into the real world and they disposed of Miyu's avatar to cover up the crime. As it turns out, Gonta was indeed responsible for this despite remembering nothing, so Kokichi essentially got away with 2 people dying without getting his hands dirty. But then Kaito's all like, I still believe in Gonta. We literally proved it could be no one else. Every giant dies in chapter 4 anyway. Why are you so stupid? Sorry about that, minor crash out. I just really fucking hate this chapter. Monokuma recovers the Gonta from the virtual world to explain, and as it turns out, this was all his idea after learning about the outside world. And then they all still baby him like a precious cinnamon roll who did nothing wrong, because at this point, Kokichi's become such an unlikable prick that they could just blame him for everything. For his punishment, Gonta tanks a bunch of wasps to the face, gets impaled by Megaguirus from the Godzilla films, and is set on fire. Seconds after Gonta's death, Kokichi makes fun of him and sucks up the tears of everybody else to make himself as hateable as possible. He reveals the rest of the rock and says he'll happily watch everyone suffer if it means winning the killing game. He can't keep getting away with this! Oh yeah, and there was also this weird pregnancy side plot with the Monokubs, but I chose not to talk about that. We've had enough incest for one day. After sleeping off yesterday's events, Monokuma gives the gang the last real key and the real last key. Dude, all of your kids are dead. You have no right to be this happy. The gang uses one key to unlock Kaito's research lab where they learn more about the Gopher project. As for the other key, it doesn't work because it's Rantaro's lab, and it's a bit too late for that. They look around even more and find a hangar with top security where the exosols were stored, as well as a hydraulic press. With the Monokubs and the exosols out of the picture, Kaito unites the survivors to fight Monokuma and finally end the killing game. Kokichi drops by and he's all like, "Funny, I was gonna do the same thing." He then shows off some high-tech weaponry that'll get the job done, which they use to clear the death road from the first chapter. They open the door, only to find the world is now an Armageddon. Why do you keep trusting this rat? Kokichi then tells them everything he learned earlier about the outside world. Some world leaders created the Gopher project after seeing the world was ending with meteors and a deadly virus. How did this game predict COVID? The main cast we've grown to love were chosen, but they refused to leave their lives behind. They even wiped their memories in order to hide the fact that they're ultimates. On the other side, the ones who knew the end was coming chased down the 16 students, which was the ultimate hunt mentioned earlier. The Gopher project responded by faking their deaths and shooting them into space to avoid actually dying with everyone else. So this academy they're in is actually a space colony. Kokichi then tells them the leader tried to end the Gopher project by sabotaging the ship to land back on Earth years after its destruction. And then he admits he was the mastermind the whole time. Yup, it was that simple, everybody. He declares the killing game is over anyway, summons the exosols, and kidnaps Kaito after a beating, leaving everyone depressed. A couple days pass by, and Maki shows everybody one last flashback light to tie up any loose ends, and the truth is finally revealed. The Gopher project was actually revealed not to be a work of world leaders, but the work of the Future Foundation. I swear to a tour, Makoto is like herpes. He won't go away! Our cast was selected because they were immune to the virus somehow, and Kokichi was also part of the remnants of despair. Because of this, they all refuse to give up hope, and Maki gets the gang together to free Kaito from Kokichi. Once they arrive, they see the hydraulic press is all bloody, and Kaito's jacket is hanging out from underneath. Monokuma's all like,
It's not over yet. We're only in chapter 5.
but strangely enough, even he doesn't know who the victim is this time around. During the trial, an exosol interrupts that somehow switches between Kaito and Kokichi's voices, even though one of them is obviously dead. Like I said before, nothing makes sense in Danganronpa. And you will see more of that later. This case seems impossible, and even Monokuma has no idea what's going on, but then Shuichi's all like, "Wait a minute, I'm the main character!" It went down a little something like this. After Kaito was kidnapped, Himiko stole a crossbow from Maki's lab. Maki then went by herself to kill Kokichi, and even took an exosol to bypass the hangar's security. Maki takes down Kokichi and shoots him with a poison arrow, trying to kill him with the next shot before Kaito steps in to save him. Maki runs off to fetch the antidote, Kokichi locks her out, and he brainstorms a plan to defeat Monokuma. You didn't really think he was the mastermind, did you?
That was just a lie!
Kokichi fakes drinking the antidote as Maki runs away again. He disables the cameras and gives the antidote to Kaito. Then they screw with the footage to fake Kaito getting crushed by it when it was actually Kokichi giving up his life before the poison can kill him. Kaito finally leaves the exosol, happy to see how far Shuichi's come with his detective work. Kaito explains the whole story, saying that Kokichi always had good intentions behind his malicious actions. He knew the killing game was being watched, and he tried to outsmart Monokuma, knowing that he wouldn't change the rules at the last second. Nobody believed him because he was such a big liar, but deep down Kokichi really did hate the killing game, and he stopped at nothing to end it. You know what? Good on you, mate. It won't bring Gonto or Miu back to life, but at least you weren't boring. This one selfless act somehow undoes every bad thing you ever did. Despite all of this effort, Monokuma refuses to end the killing game, and he revives the Monokubs. Ugh. Maki stops being a tsundere and confesses her love for Kaito, but he's more than happy to be executed because he was gonna die anyway. Monokuma pulls out an old classic and shoots Kaito into space, but his illness finally kills him before his execution can. At least he got to see space before he died. Kibo gets hit in the head, and Monokuma shines one more flashback light as a last-ditch effort, which has a special effect. As a final tribute to the luminary of the stars, they all go outside and train together under the moonlight. Rest easy, paintbrush head. After getting bonked on the head, Kibo suddenly thinks we're in America, and he starts instinctively shooting up the school. Monokuma gets pissed off because it still won't stop the killing game, and Kibo fights his entire army while everyone evacuates. With Monokuma distracted, the gang have bought some time to explore to see if they can finally expose the mastermind. First, they break into Kokichi's lab and find a book about Hope's Peak Academy, but something's not right. And then they find clues he left, leading them to more messages and making them do extra work. Along the way, Shuichi remembers being part of the Gopher project and talking to a kid for some reason. Kibo blasts open Rantaro's lab, and our heroes find a vault with a video Rantaro recorded in this room even though he died. In this video, Rantaro is finally revealed as the ultimate survivor for surviving the last killing game, and for some apparent reason he wanted another one to happen. Shuichi then starts remembering his old friends and the 16 students about to get frozen. When they woke up, Monokuma immediately wiped their memories so the killing game could start. They rediscover the old hidden door from the library, and Kibo blows that shit up to find a room with a disembodied Monokuma head, who has been creating all these Monokumas, so just like William Afton, he'll always come back. They find some evidence from Trial 1, as well as Rantaro's custom monopad, which contains a map and a clue to end the killing game from his past self. They also discover how the flashback lights are made and the memories within them, but there are some weird contradictions. Himiko then finds a hidden room in the girls' bathroom that takes them back to the Mastermind's room. With all this evidence gathered, Shuichi halts the fight between Kibo and Monokuma so they can have one last class trial. And just like the first game, Monokuma agrees to these terms, but everyone will die if Shuichi gets it wrong. They take the bug vac with them, designed by Kokichi and built by Miyu, made to suck up any small bugs. Kibo uses his enhanced vision, and he finds some mini Monokumas with cameras called Nanokuma, the sixth Monokuma, lying hidden somewhere. Fuck off! During the trial, Shuichi announces he wants a redo of the very first case now that there's new evidence. If Monokuma's first verdict was wrong, then he's rigged the entire killing game from the start. As the trial goes on, Monokuma bombs his own children one by one, and we learn Kaede was innocent the whole time. They axed off our sweetheart for cheap shock factor. We were this close to greatness, man. So yeah, turns out Kaede's shot put ball didn't actually hit Rantaro, and she basically died for nothing. The real killer had another one, snuck up behind him and cracked his skull, framing Kaede for the murder. Then they stole Rantaro's custom monopad and went through the hidden door to meet up with the others at the same time. And the mastermind is... Junko again! No, it's actually Tsumugi. I mean, she was practically useless throughout this whole thing. Is it really that surprising? Everyone gets rightfully pissed off, and Shuichi's all like, how do you explain that, and this, and that one thing from earlier? And Tsumugi's all like,
It's all fake!
and she's not even joking. After remembering Tsumugi can only cosplay fictional characters, we learn how she switches disguises like this as well as everything else, with one very simple explanation. Everything leading up to this point was all fiction. The killing games, fake. The tragedy, fake. Hope's Peak, fake. The cast themselves, fake. Junko's boobs, absolutely fake. As if the fourth wall wasn't shattered enough already, they reveal the V in V3 is actually a Roman numeral, and they're on Danganronpa's 53rd season. On top of that, Tsumugi is just a single member of Team Danganronpa, the crew that turned this into a reality show. The characters we grew to love are actually exaggerated versions of the real fans watching, and Tsumugi scripted this whole thing. They acknowledge the viewers themselves, point to us as the real villains, and our heroes call us sick fucks for enjoying this shit. Yup! This was the plot twist that ruined the franchise for almost half of the fandom. Even worse is Kibo, who never really had his own identity to begin with. Every action he made was controlled by the audience, and that same audience even got to watch the entire killing game through his point of view. This will not do, Mr. Kodaka. I demand the Kibo cut. To determine everyone's fate, Tsumugi suggests a new vote after Kibo starts rebelling. If despair wins, the killing game ends and they continue living in fiction. If hope wins, the killing game continues until two remain. Shuichi says fuck you to the fans and figures out this might have happened to Rantaro, hence why he's in another killing game. If Danganronpa continues, Tsumugi will do another season, Kibo will be the cameraman again, and Maki will be the new ultimate survivor. As for Himiko... Shuichi does a little speech about the pain in his heart being real even if they're all fictional, so he doesn't vote at all. No more hope, no more despair. And then they use the power of fiction to fight the real world and they take down their own fan base. What the fuck is going on anymore? Nobody votes in the end, the fans leave after one bad season, Danganronpa is officially cancelled, and Monokuma is out of a job. Kibo blows up the school again, crushes Tsumugi to death, and kills himself so our three remaining ultimates can finally leave. He had a self-destruct button on his chest the whole time and nobody tried to press it? After the credits roll, Shuichi mentions Tsumugi might have actually been lying and everything here could just be a copy of real things. But who cares about that? We're probably never getting another mainline game anyway. But a fighting game would be pretty cool.
Theoretically, if someone watched the events of that simulation from start to finish, only to find out that none of it really happened, I mean, you don't think that should be just like a giant middle finger to them?
Well, hopefully they would have enjoyed the ride.
I don't know, man. I think you piss a lot of people off that way.